Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in to the episode of Fans Talking Athletes podcast. We've had some great guests so far, and we're happy to say that we will be continuing this trend moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the man on your screen is the former host of the Cabbie Presents show, where he interviewed many A-list celebrities and athletes in quite a unique style, I must say, and is currently co-hosting Bleacher Report's BR betting show alongside expert Kelly Stewart. This is Cabbie Richards.
Yes. Appreciate the intro. Well done, sir. Thank you very much for that. It was very, very kind of you.
Well, thank you for taking the time to join us. And, I would totally be dapping you up right now if we were in person and giving you that signature Cabbie hug.
Absolutely. And I would embrace that very much. It would be a long 8 to 10 seconds.
I appreciate it. Just enough to make it a little bit uncomfortable. That's
correct.
Perfect.
Correct.
And speaking of, signature moves, what did you think of that intro? Because, I tried to take it right out of your playbook, make it a little bit like yours. I couldn't quite find a middle name online when I did a Google search, so I just tossed Cabbie in there. Do you have a middle name?
I do. I've never revealed it publicly, and I won't here, but okay. Well done. The intro was great. It was great. I thought it was very kind.
Awesome. And, I just wanted to start off by saying that you are a true inspiration for many people out there. I know myself, I watched you almost every single morning watching Sports Center, and then every Friday getting those amazing Cabbie Presents shows where, we got to see the other side of athletes. We got to see you goofing around. And it was just a great overall time. It was usually a great cap off to a great week, just a lighthearted type of show. So wanted to say thank you, first of all, for kind of bringing us, all us Canadians, that joy every Friday morning.
You're thank you, man. Thanks. And I never know who's watching. So the fact that you would mention that and you supported the show means a lot. So thanks, man. Even though I've never met you before, and I never realized like when you were either watching on your phone or TV, but the support I appreciate nonetheless.
Thank you. So let's kind of dive right into it. So, we normally have a lot of cool guests such as yourself on our show. And this week we wanted to change things up a little bit. And, I do have my questions that I kind of wanted to ask you, but we actually reached out to some of our fans who are also your fans. And we asked them some questions that they wanted to ask you. So I think this would be a great just intro question, and it's something that I think a lot of people also have on their minds. So this comes from Aman Paul. He asks, basically, what are you up to these days?
Well, as you mentioned in the intro, I work for Bleacher Report. So I'm in Las Vegas, and I'm working on the betting platform, and we make content around betting for casual bettors, not so much like the serious hardcore bettors, but people who, love fantasy sports and who are kind of getting into betting. And we built a really strong community of people that are chasing like these huge jackpot wins, as we are also chasing them as well. So that's what I'm up to.
Okay, awesome. That's awesome to see that you're still involved in the media world. A question that is on the top of, I think, a lot of people's minds. It definitely is mine. How did you get the nickname Cabbie?
My name is Cabral, and my dad started calling me Cabbie when I was 5, just as a nickname. And then he was really the only person to call me that. And then when I started at the Score as an intern, there was one producer. His name was Tim Preston, and he started calling me Cabbie. Everybody would just call me Cabral, but Cabral is like, people would mess up my name all the time, like yours. You have a very unique name, and
for sure,
I'm sure you've heard it said wrong more than you've heard it said right. So and at the Score at the time, it was like a lot of hockey dudes there. So hockey dudes, their nicknames are either end in ER or IE. So Cabbie was the name that he resurrected, and it just stuck with it.
Well, I mean, you've come across a lot of hockey dudes, quote unquote, through kind of your career, especially with TSN. So I'm sure, you kind of fit right into the locker room whenever you're interviewing all these various personalities, Sidney Crosby coming right to mind. I recently watched you do one with the Minnesota Wild, and, they had a couple guys there. It seems like you've interviewed pretty much every single NHL player. So again, I think you fit right in there, which is awesome. with the pandemic going on, everybody's days kind of look a little bit different. What does an average day look like for you? I'm not sure what the quarantine situation is looking like down in Las Vegas. I'm sure you've heard Toronto's been in quarantine for pretty much forever. I imagine you're quite busy with all your current commitments. So what does an average day look like for you?
Generally, I go to the library for 2 or 3 hours. So in Vegas, there are less restrictions than there are in Ontario and in Toronto. So I take advantage of that. And I have like 3 streams a week. So we do a show called Group Chat where it's basketball focused and we're talking about generally like the TNT doubleheader game. So this Thursday, I don't know when you're going to publish this, but where you have the Sixers and the Lakers is one of the TNT games. I think it's the early game. Maybe it's the late game, excuse me. So I got to prep for that. And then I also do these bet streams for Turner. So these are second screen experiences with myself and 2 hosts. And we are watching a basketball game, but our dialogue, our conversation is half about betting and half about the game. So it's a different muscle that I've had to exercise than before. Before it was just short form interviews with athletes, and this is like narrating a whole game. Actually, we're not narrating the action, but we're having a conversation throughout the entire basketball game. So we're gonna have to talk about Philadelphia. So Furkan Korkmaz or Maxey or Shake Milton or Seth Curry. Like you're gonna have to know things about these players in the event where they're either at the free throw line or Tobias Harris might have 9 straight points, 3 straight cornered threes, and like, oh, he's cooking. Has that affected the line? We bring a betting dialogue into it, but as far as the preparation goes, it takes like 3 days to prep for one of these games because you don't know how the action's going to go, and then you just have to prepare to be able to speak about every player on a team. So I have 2 of those a week plus the group chat, which is less intensive. That's like a 30-minute show versus the other 2, which are 2-hour and 45-minute basketball games.
Right.
So that's what my week consists of. Every day I got to go to the library for a couple of hours. I love to read The Athletic. I love StatMuse as a site. I love 538 just to get sort of a more analytical point of view. And then I can read The Ringer, which is great for sports and pop culture. Ringer has a great NBA coverage, and I can find a few things in there, little notes that I can make. And also, I love podcasts. So on my way to the library, which I walk generally, I just crush out a podcast. On the way home, I'll crush out a podcast. So these are the things that I use, the tools that I use to prepare for these weekly streams.
Hey, that's awesome. And maybe comparing that to when you were at TSN doing your Cabbie Presents, how was that different when, you were prepping for talking to some of these athletes, whereas kind of what you're doing right now?
The preparation is very different. I would prepare highlights and I would prepare music and graphics and fonts. I would do a lot of that work before I would go and sit with the athlete and going into the library at TSN and finding plays. I might have an interview with Kyle Lowry or Norman Powell or Klay Thompson or something. And then I just want to find a bunch of plays that just shows their excellence to cut together for a montage. Or if I mention, Normie, you're shooting 40% from downtown versus teams in the Atlantic Division. Are you, is it a point of pride where you shoot, for like a random question, is it a point of pride that you shoot so much better against Brooklyn, Philly, New York, and Boston versus like the South where you have Atlanta, Charlotte, Miami, Orlando? And then he can react wherever. He can be like, yeah, it is a point of pride. These are teams that are rivals. So I like to play even a little bit better against those teams. And then I show highlights of him draining threes against Boston, Philly, Brooklyn, the Knicks, etc. So that was less intensive, but there were longer nights. I might be editing till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And I would only have like a couple of days to edit. So they're intense. So I do a lot of prep work beforehand, get in the edit suite, work with the editor, boom, boom, boom. Here's the 15 music tracks we're going to use. These are the video overlays I'm going to use for this piece of this text I want to come on screen, or like at the end I want to use this montage. And then like the actual creating of the questions for the interview, that usually takes about a day. I'll try to think, like, what can I do with Norm Powell? Like, can we play checkers? Can we do tic-tac-toe? Can we Powell, Norm, like Norm, do we go to a bar like Norm from Cheers, and we sit and we have an interview and we're drinking apple juice and grapefruit juice or what? I don't even know. This is all like stupidness. Yeah. But I would think of all this stupidness and eventually get to like some ideas like, oh, okay, this isn't bad. So one is a lot more of an academic preparation where I'm like reading a bunch of articles and finding little nuggets. I might listen to, I listened to 2 podcasts with the Sixers general manager, Daryl Morey, who's an analytical thinker. He comes from a computer science background. So I'm listening to like a podcast about data and the way he views the 3-point shot. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a great note. Maybe this can come up organically in one of these bet streams, or maybe not organically, but we can talk about if Philadelphia in this game against the Lakers is like 8 for 11 from downtown, then yeah, let's talk about the 3-point shot, because Seth Curry has 2, Tobias Harris has 2, Korkmaz has 1, and maybe Ben Simmons even hits a 3-point shot, which is unlikely, but like maybe Ben Simmons, like Ben Simmons hit a shot, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how those two things are different.
Yeah, going back to kind of the Norman Powell one, I feel like he was sometimes a bit of a tough nut to kind of crack. I know you've kind of had your fair dealings with him, and I know your relationship got kind of better, as with a lot of athletes over as the time went on. But I know those athletes, especially Norm, was a bit tougher. Is there anything that you kind of did that you felt might have made that a little bit easier the next time you saw him? Like, did you change your approach at all, or did you just kind of keep going at it until he kind of broke, I guess?
Well, Normie, early on, and I did this with like 2 or 3 athletes. I said, the more you treat me like shit, the funnier it is. Yeah. So I said that to Kyle. Yeah. I said that to JJ Watt, and I said that to Norm. And really I said, hey, like, I'm going to try to react, or I'm going to react naturally if you crap on me. But I think it's more enjoyable for because I'm not going to go after the athlete. I mean, one time I did clap back at Norm, but I don't know why I did it, but that's how we set it up, just with those 4 guys. So he understood. He's like, okay, I know that like I can come in with low energy, and it takes me a while to like get him to turn him around and like, but like Norm and I wouldn't say we're friends, but we've hung out in Vegas and had a fun night at like a concert pre-COVID. He's a great dude, and I wish him nothing but the best. So yeah, it took me a while. Like, it takes a while to get him going, and then like, I don't even know if he's enjoyed one. I was gonna say, and then he's enjoying himself, but I don't even know if he's enjoyed one of our.
I think he enjoyed that one that you had the album covers and you put his face on them. I think he somewhat enjoyed that one. Yeah.
Maybe he did enjoy that, because that was just about him. The other one I did with him and Pascal, I had like this
alpha one. The alpha, I remember that. I was watching that.
And then at the end, like, we had this little basketball game, which I'm pretty sure he beat me in. So
he cheated. He completely cheated. I think he would have won. I think he cheated.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So yeah, Norm, it did take him a while to come around. I think if I interviewed him now with some distance, I think I could get back to him enjoying, because I would like bring up like, I might say some offhanded something and just cut it out of the interview, but then it raises his enjoyment so that like the next few questions, he's like in a better mood. So
yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think it was that alpha one where you kind of had that clap back. I forget which one it was, but I was watching that one recently. Yeah.
I said something about like have a better personality.
Or yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I remember that now. That's exactly it. Well, okay, that's awesome. We kind of went down a rabbit hole there. So I'm going to kind of bring you back to the line of questioning I had for you here. But no, I really enjoyed that. Thank you for kind of giving us in even more of a background than the background that you kind of give of the player. So that was kind of nice. So kind of bringing it back, you obviously have spoken to pretty much every sports athlete under the sun, or different type of sports athlete, I should say. It'd be pretty impressive if you talk to every single athlete out there. What sport do you like to play, first of all? And what athlete, what type of athlete do you like to interview? Because as a fan, and as a viewer, I think I like the hockey ones personally. Like I'm a huge basketball fan. You can see the Raptors jersey, but I did enjoy your ones with the hockey players. So bit of a two-parter there. What sport do you like to play, and what type of athletes do you like to interview?
So I like to play football and baseball. I'm terrible at basketball and I can't ice skate. The athletes that I like to interview are guys that are either much bigger than me, so there could be like a physical element in the interview, or someone like my size or a little bit smaller so that I can also get physical. So for instance, Brad Marchand, Boston Bruins, he's like 5'8", elite player, known as an agitator.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't take himself seriously. We've never like really gotten physical in an interview, but like, I don't know, there's something, but there's a potential where they're like, I might climb into his shirt, or I might bring like a fake, or like a, I don't know, a stuffed animal. I'm like, okay, where have you licked other, like, just say this stuff, this is generic, or like even like a McFarlane hockey player, but then it would be a person. So it'd be him like licking Mario Lemieux. So yeah, maybe I'd bring a stuffed animal, and then, we could, do something like that. I think about, I said going into somebody's jersey, I think about PJ Tucker when he was with the Raptors. I physically went into his jersey where my face was rubbing against his abs and his chest. And PJ just kept laughing because this guy, he's like, this person is so absurd. And I was saying, PJ, like, your defense is so elite and you play such great, like, body to body defense. And so I went in, so like, when those opportunities, I shouldn't even say they present themselves, because nothing in his body language said, yeah, please, I welcome you putting, climbing into my personal space, invading it more so than any other human. But I don't know, I just saw an opportunity there to be animated and to be physical. So I like some of these bigger dudes. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody put me in a headlock. I had Mike Tyson rub Vaseline on my face.
I remember that one. Yeah.
I had, who else? Sometimes I did this bit with like Fred Van Vliet and DeLon where I was putting like, how big is the chip on their shoulder? So I was pantomiming, putting like the weighted chip on their shoulders. And then I think we just superimposed like the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles at the time, a guy named Chip Kelly. I'm trying to think of the last time I was like, anything with Bautista. I used to yell at it, like I used to like scream the way that he hits home runs, like the ball screaming out of the park. I'd be like, ah! And I would start every interview, but I was like, ah! And he would let me almost puncture his eardrum in this introduction. So that was always fun too. I hope that answered your question.
Oh, no, 100%. That answered it, I think, 10 times over. It's awesome. We actually recently had the pleasure of having Dalton Pompey
Nice.
On our podcast, and he actually mentioned that Jose Bautista kind of got a bad rap from the media. And obviously, I don't think he was talking about kind of your type of media, but more like, I guess, the news and sports news in general. Did you kind of agree with him? Like, do you think he kind of got a bad rap?
Yes. And like, whenever you hear hit pieces from, or whenever you read them, it's usually someone from the organization leaking it to one of their favorite reporters, and that reporter will be sort of the mouthpiece for the club. I remember specifically, it was his contract extension. Like, it was leaked like he wanted 5 years, 150 million. Now that didn't come from Batista's camp, but that came from someone in the Jays organization leaking it to a writer and then getting the temperature from the fans. Fans like, oh, he's not worth that much. Oh, that's crazy. This is right after he hits his bat flip, or maybe a year after that, where they went to the ALCS again. I think they lost to Cleveland that year. So yeah, and like, baseball is weird because baseball players don't really have to speak to the media every day, unlike hockey and basketball, where it's league mandated that they're available to the media 2 or 3 times a day. Not now because of COVID, but pre-COVID it was 2 or 3 times. And baseball, they don't care. Like, you can after games, not everybody's available. It might be like 3 or 4 guys, and there's 25 dudes on a team. But in basketball and hockey, everybody's in the dressing room or the locker room, and everybody speaks. Like LeBron James will speak every day. But if in baseball, like Mookie Betts,
I was gonna say Mookie Betts too. That's funny.
Isn't speaking every day, or Mike Trout or Fernando Tatis, like guys of that ilk. So it just there's a different relationship with the media,
right?
And I don't know if there's as much trust. I think there might be more trust in basketball because you have guys like Woj, Shams Charania, Mark Spears, Ramona Shelburne, Zach Lowe, who have like relationships with players, Dave McMenamin, and like, actually this is in every sport, but players have certain people in the media who they develop a trust with, and then they can get out their point of view versus somebody just writing a post on Instagram and putting that out there. So I think baseball, the relationship with the media is different than football, hockey and basketball and football as well. Like, I don't know who Tom Brady has, like who is a Tom Brady guy, but like Aaron Rodgers has a couple of people that he trusts and who he will speak to and get his message out. I don't know who Russell Wilson's got, or Patrick Mahomes, or Deshaun Watson, Drew Brees, but there are like certain athletes who trust some writers, and that's who they'll give exclusive interviews to.
Oh, cool. That is something I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that they kind of had the people that they had, if that makes sense. But I guess good to know if I ever get to that stage. But
so for example, with the late great Kobe Bryant, Ramona Shelburne, Mark Spears, J.A. Adonde were writers that Kobe trusted, even Dave McMenamin. So when they would ask for a one-on-one interview once a year or a couple times a year, Kobe would give it to them because he trusted that their conversation would be represented fairly in the media, whether it's for I think Ramona was with the LA Times before ESPN. J.A. Adonde, I think, wrote for LA Times, and Mark Spears, before he was with the Undefeated, wrote for Yahoo. So those were guys that Kobe trusted. And McMenamin wrote for ESPN, but he's a Philly guy and knew Kobe in Philadelphia when he was in high school. So they built up a trust over many, many years.
Okay, good to know. Speaking of media personalities that Kobe trusts, you obviously had a great relationship with the late Kobe Bryant. So I actually wanted to start by asking you 2 questions that we got from from our fans. So one of them is from Satwant Boparai. He says, he asked, how did you land those Kobe interviews back in the Score days? And did you ever actually end up going to Kobe's house?
So it took. I showed up during media availability, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. You can speak to players after morning shoot around, so say like noon. You can speak to them at like 5:30, 90 minutes before the game, and then after the game. And some players like Kevin Garnett would only speak after the game. And then some players would only speak before the game unless they had a huge game, and then someone has a triple-double and a win, they'll talk to the media. And generally, most of the guys are available after shoot around. But the window is like, you have like 5 minutes before they get on the bus, go back to the hotel, they sleep or whatever, eat lunch. So I showed up at some media availabilities, and that's how I got Kobe. And he didn't know who I was. And I'm just this fat reporter, just like asking him about bandwagon fans. And then at the end, I asked him about staying at his house. And later that day, they played the Raptors in Toronto. I asked him about posters in his room. And then I said, hey, man, what's your address? He's like, you want to know my address? I'm like, yeah, because when we get to LA, I need to get there. And he's like, it's 8 Out of Your Mind Avenue. And then after the game, I asked him, I think for his phone number. They won the game, and he was in a good mood. And he's like, it's 1-800, never, ever call me. So then I saw him 3 months later at the All-Star game. And then in the All-Star game, there's more availability so I got him like 2 more times. So in the span of like 3 months, he saw me like 3 or 4 times, and he goes, and then I think he realized, oh, this guy's just trying to have fun. Cause, when you go to the All-Star game, people have a bunch of different features or stories they're trying to write. So you're getting all kinds of different questions. And I was, I'm a clown, and I went, when it was in Houston, I went in with like a cowboy hat, this big stupid cowboy hat. I was asking about why things are bigger in the state of Texas. And then I asked them about the sensation of flying, because we're in Houston, and the NASA headquarters weren't too far away from downtown Houston. But that's how I earned his trust. And then once a year I would go to LA when he was playing. There are a few years where I didn't go because he was injured. He had a shoulder injury, obviously the Achilles. He had multiple knee injury, back injury. So I missed out on interviewing Kobe a few times. But that's how I developed the trust. And no, I never went to his house.
Oh, that's unfortunate to hear. But it's nice that you kind of had that camaraderie built with him.
Yeah, man, it was amazing.
For sure. And it was amazing for us to see as well. A lot of the great memories of Kobe we got straight from you.
Thanks.
A lot of what you mentioned, and a couple others that I'm sure fans can search up on YouTube as well. The second question, also around Kobe Bryant, comes from Junaid Hussein. What was your favorite memory with Kobe?
Um,
And you've had a lot of them, so I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a bit tough to choose.
Probably, he after the All-Star game in Toronto, he told me that All-Star weekend was a celebration of Kobe Bryant because it was going to be his last one. It was like his final year. And, or maybe, did he retire in 17 or retired in 16? I think he retired in maybe 16.
I think so as well.
And he said, you're at the beginning, excuse me. He said, you're at the beginning of what you're going to be. And it hit me. It's like, no one's ever said that to me before. And I didn't really know what he meant, but just that vote of confidence coming from someone whose entire professional career has just been excellence.
Right.
And lifting other people to share in his excellence or achieve their own excellence or the pursuit of excellence. So it meant a lot. That was that's a moment I cherished greatly. Just having him, just as like at the end of the game, people are like leaving and just, all kinds of things. This is on the court at the Air Canada Center.
Right.
And I was like, thank you, Bean. I appreciate that very much. So I saw him one more time after that, but yeah, that's probably my fondest memory.
That's awesome. And, Kobe obviously lives on, and whether it be in people's memories, through the All-Star game with like the new format, or it's people just shooting and yelling Kobe, right? So
yes.
my kind of final question I had for you surrounding Kobe Bryant specifically, I know, again, you had a very close relationship with him. And I just wanted to ask, I know kind of when we first started talking about Kobe, you kind of gave him that respect and you kind of gave him that tribute right there that you did. I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk about that.
Oh, why?
Yeah. For Kobe, yeah.
Nice. No one's asked me that. That's just how I know he's above, and I don't know. It's just something that I do. Very perceptive. When I travel and I land in a plane, it's 2 kisses to my heart, and then I point up. I don't do the whole cry. That's just my way of saying thank you to the creator and thank you also to Kobe Bryant. And that's me, just my gesture of respect and unlimited gratitude. So that's why I do that.
Hey, that's awesome. I appreciate you kind of opening up and sharing that with us. I kind of wanted to move on now from the late, great Kobe Bryant, and wanted to ask you a little bit about an alternate universe where you did not become a sports broadcaster and you perhaps didn't go to Ryerson. What would you be doing right now?
I would have found some way to entertain. So when I applied to university, I applied at Western, Guelph, and Ryerson. So let's say I didn't get into Ryerson. My friends, not all of them, but many of them went to Guelph to play football because some of our head coaches went to Guelph, and one of our head coaches won a Vanier Cup.
Wow.
So maybe I would have went to Guelph and I would have taken hotel and food administration. So maybe I would have been like on a marketing team working for the Marriott brand or whatever. Or maybe I would have like worked in restaurants and absolutely destroyed my life with partying and late nights and all that entails, all that restaurant culture, that restaurant life, which a bunch of my friends worked in. And in your 20s and 30s, I'm sure they did some regrettable things, but had a lot of fun doing it. That may have been my trajectory. And hey, I don't have any kids, but maybe I would have. And I just recently got married, but maybe I wouldn't be married, or maybe I would have been divorced because I'm, the general manager of a Moxie's or, Rainforest Cafe, and here I am acting like a complete. But I would have come back to entertainment.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved Will Smith and Martin Lawrence and Jim Carrey so much. I just emulated them and just stole the material. So I never saw like a pipeline to being in commercials or being on television. I didn't know how to get there, except for you have to go to LA. Because I recall Jim Carrey like packing up everything he owned and driving to LA to make it as a stand-up comedian, and he made it against all odds. Because coming from Canada and then competing in New York or LA, where everybody descends that has a similar ambitions to you, like the competition level would have been so high. So I probably would have tried to do that and probably failed. Who knows? But performing has always been in my heart, and I found a way in my sports interview to perform, not in a traditional sense, but perform for the athlete, with the athlete, and for the audience. So I probably would have been, probably would have had a few kids, fat, even fatter, or I would have been part of that Peloton life where, everybody's super lean and, you work in a restaurant, but you only eat avocado and salads and like chicken breast, but like no breading or just fish. Yeah, could have went one a few ways, but then obviously, I would have made many mistakes. So it's a good thing I just stuck to sports, and my work environment was predominantly dudes. So there was no temptation to have any kind of indiscretions with coworkers. It's just dudes.
Yeah, for sure. So I got two things on that. First of all, congratulations on getting married. Congratulations. Second of all, I'm actually very happy that you didn't become like a restaurant owner or a general manager, because I feel like you would have found a way to make the waiters get all up in your face while they're taking your order. Could
you imagine? Oh my gosh, that we would get 1-star reviews on Google, Yelp, or no star reviews if like the waiters acted like me in interviews. There would be so many harassment lawsuits. You would shut the businesses down. Thankfully, there's a little bit more leeway on television or in this format, so I could like violate. Like I could put my face against David Ortiz's, or I could rest my ear on, who did I do that to? Like Chris Bosch, I would do that often, or hug. And he's like 6'11", so my head would just fit right on his collarbone or just below, like right at his chest plate. Who are some others that I used to just completely violate? There were some hockey dudes. Lupul said a few times, he's like, I forget how close you get in these things. Because they could feel the heat of my face when I'm like right here and I'm talking. I hugged Ovi, and I once did we were cheek to cheek I did a thing about selfies and like taking photos with fans. And like, do they have a strategy to make the interaction shorter, or like if someone gives them the camera, like how they take their selfies or whatnot. Yeah, that one we were hugging for sure. Yeah, it was uncomfortable, but I loved it.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome for sure. And like I said, great that we were able to have this Cabbie in this universe. Thanks. Other universes are very much deprived of Cabbie Presents. So that's awesome. So on this podcast, we normally actually have 3 segments. We like to cover some unknown stories about, some of our guests. And then we like to cover kind of stuff that's going on in their career and some of their career accomplishments, and then end off with interesting facts. So we kind of like to focus a little bit on that first segment and kind of like to get the unknown stories straight from the guest's mouth. So if you are comfortable, I was wondering, would you be willing to share with us a story, a thought, an experience that you've never told anyone before or that you've never shared with the media?
Huh.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I can't think of anything that's like great off the top of my mind, off the top of my head. I don't know if I've told it. This one's not like juicy or anything, but I went to Costa Rica once with Jeff Carter, Mike Richards, and Billy Leno. We all became friends. And during the NHL All-Star weekend, when guys don't make the All-Star team, they go on vacations. And I was invited to go to Costa Rica with these guys. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we stayed at this sick villa, 4 seasons, blah, blah, blah. And we went surfing. It was cool. Like, I took a few pictures, but it was just like 4 dudes. And it wasn't even like, and met some tourists or whatever, but that was cool. I don't think I've ever told that. And I don't even know, maybe I don't know if I can think of a photo that I've taken, but I don't know if I ever put it on. So maybe I put it on social, but I don't know if I ever in the caption like said, hey, we were internationally, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool trip. Thanks.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I was in Vegas with Floyd Mayweather and we were at a strip club. Like, I don't have any of those kind of freaking stories, unfortunately.
No, I feel like that's a good thing. I feel like that also speaks a lot to your character as well, as a human being.
Oh, no, listen, I would do that. If I was invited, I would do those stories. I would like be on those trips, after, a few tequila and sodas, maybe I would tell those stories if we were like at a pre-drink before we're going to a barbecue or going out on King Street. But unfortunately, I don't have those to share with you. But listen, it's like, I don't want to make it seem like I have some kind of moral fiber where I'd be like, no, that's that's not, I'm in. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm a recovering dirtbag. So,
well, to our limited audience and hopefully growing audience, if you ever see Cabbie just strolling the streets of Vegas, please invite him out. He's desperate. He needs somewhere to go.
I am down for all kinds of activities and debauchery.
And I don't want to, I mean, I guess we should move past it, but I did want to say one thing. I noticed that you kind of hesitated around tourists. I feel like there's a story there or there's something there that we won't get into today, but if we ever see you again.
That's it. We met American tourists.
Excellent. We'll I mean, take that as you will, everyone, but we're gonna have to get that story out of you. Maybe some other time if we ever run into each other again.
We need tequila sodas. I don't think you're a young man that partakes, but Casamigos or 1942 or Casa Azul, like that decorative white bottle with the blue paint, like the decorative paint.
Yeah.
Those are fuel for stories that should not be shared in a public forum.
Sounds good, Cabbie. If you're ever back in Toronto, and it's a lit weekend, and again I'm in Toronto, we see each other. You're gonna have to spill the beans, all right?
Okay, you got it.
Sounds good. So kind of moving on a little bit, how do you come up kind of with your skits and interview styles? And you touched on it a little bit before, but could you kind of take us a little bit deeper into the process and kind of, you mentioned that you, especially with Norman Powell, you kind of think of random things, but what's kind of the process like for you? Like, was there a point that you stopped getting starstruck by some of these athletes? Was there a point where, you kind of started to become a little bit, I mean, you always seem very comfortable, a little too comfortable, if I might admit, but was there a point where you kind of reached where, like, oh, you know what? It's just kind of like another interview.
So I would always collaborate with my longtime producer and collaborator, Dave Crick. So we would start with a phone conversation.
Okay.
And we were like, I was thinking, like, would this be funny? Oh, I was thinking about this. And then we would just riff back and forth. And we would come to some place where like, oh, you know what, that's pretty good. So I always had to keep in mind, like, what has the athlete done before? What is the athlete willing to do? And then what can I get away with on TSN?
Okay.
So, and then another consideration was like, how much time do I have? If it's 5 minutes, gotta operate quickly. If it's 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, there's a little bit more room to work, but not a ton of room. And also like the final bit when it's on SportsCenter is going to be 3 minutes. So even in a 5-minute conversation, you're just taking the best stuff, and to package it into 3 minutes and we put it on YouTube, it'd be like 5 minutes. So sometimes I generally did not like to watch interviews that athletes have done in the past, unless it was someone I was interviewing for the first time. Because I want to know, like if it was a hockey player, 40% of the league are international players, are from European countries. So I'm like, how good is this person's English? And then even in basketball, less so, maybe it's 10 or 12% international players. What is this person's like? How bored is this person in interviews? Like, am I going to have to work harder to get this person to play along? Sometimes just like the pronunciation of a person's name. So, I would do some of that, but generally I would read tech stuff. I'd read music blogs. I'm like, what are things, or like Ad Week, like what are things that I could tell? Oh, this is an interesting campaign from Burger King. Like, oh, is there something there that like, or is it like, is it the McDonald's pieces, or it's something? Oh, McDonald's French fries are undefeated. I mean, they taste like crack cocaine. I'm like, salty. What is it about the salty? Something about salty fans. What's the saltiest you've been? So I just have like, it's almost like these thought bubbles, and then trying to follow where these thoughts may lead to land on something that has like a foundation of a decent base for an interview. Right. But it would always start with the phone call, or sometimes I would do I'll go on a walk, do some thinking, listen to like a podcast about politics, but I would never bring politics in there, but just so my brain is active about different areas of the culture. And then maybe that would spark an idea to bring into the interview. Because I was always primarily focused on amplifying the athlete's personality and their point of view, but mostly their personality, and not so much get caught up in the X's and O's of their particular game. Some X's and O's are much harder. Like hockey, I don't really know much about Corsi stats. And they don't have as many statistical categories as, say, baseball, which has all of the stats. And every pitch is a new opportunity for a stat. How does this person hit in the 2-1 count? 2-1 count with a runner on base. 2-1 count with 2 men out. 3-0 count. Like there's all these kind of things, and like various scenarios which generate stats where you can measure a player's performance. So I didn't really do that too much. I kind of made it more general. Every once in a while, I might have a specific question about a person's performance, but yeah, man, I love props, and Dave was more creative as far as like bringing props, like prop ideas. Props always gives us something to do. Yeah. So it's like 2, 3, 4 questions, general Q&A, and then like the reveal is like, okay, here is this thing that we can do. So one time we made, and this is probably my man D's idea, we made a map of the United States, and we printed off a bunch of emojis and for the baseball cities. So we're like, Josh Donaldson, predict the weather. His nickname was the bringer of rain. Predict the weather that you are going to inflict on Baltimore, Detroit, St. Louis. And then we're like, okay, this is on the schedule. You guys are going to Arizona in August, and then Colorado. So we had like thunderstorm, snow, hurricane, tornado, like all these different kind of emojis. And he was placing them on the map. That was a really fun bit that we did. Another time, this is one of my big regrets, is never getting to do this one, but we pitched this RC car, like a remote control car race. Okay. And we wanted to rig one of the cars to explode and like catch on fire. Like we're going to hire someone who worked on a special effects team, like in movies and film. But the person that was the general manager of the Skydome, like the building, said we couldn't do it because they didn't want us to burn the field. So we're like, man, but like, so we're like, okay, maybe we'll get get it rigged so that it falls apart like a Lego set. But I'm like, oh, that's not as cool.
Right.
We need smoke, like we need fire, like, and then another teammate would be controlling the car from the dugout and not being aware that it, like, yo, what's like say it was Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson might be puzzled as to why his remote control car isn't working, but Edwin Encarnacion is in the dugout and he's actually got the right frequency to his car, and then it explodes. So we couldn't do that. So eventually I did get to do the remote control car race, but we had to jump through so many hoops to even get that. Just one lap around the infield. Like it took, 90 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever, but it took like 3 months to get approval to do it at the Scottum. So props are always fun. And some of our props got bigger and bigger. The map was pretty big, like bringing that on the field. The biggest, we once with Batista had a dunking cage, and he threw a baseball from right field because at the time he was like in the top 3 or 5 with outfield assists, and his arm was just like legendary.
Yeah.
And he hit a target, and I fell into this dunk tank. But we couldn't put water in the dunk tank like you see at a carnival.
What?
Your buddy sits in it, you throw a baseball that gets dunked in the water. We had to put eggs in the bottom, and it kind of sucked because you'd want I'm a big fat guy. I would have emptied out the entire contents of the dunk tank, my fat ass falling in there. But the same person was like, no, you can't have water on the field because it's going to soak the field. Like, come on, man. Like,
it's a field. It's meant to be soaked.
Yeah, it's baseball. Like, I know you guys close the roof if it's going to rain, or you guys don't even open it's going to rain, but like, come on. Under the turf is concrete. It's going to be fine. Yeah. And there are not irrigation, but there is a system, a drainage system under the concrete so that excess water can drain out into the sewers and stuff. Like, it was built by engineers. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Still couldn't get approval.
Oh, that's brutal. Salty. That's brutal. That's quite unfortunate. But hey, maybe one day you can kind of work it into your BR betting show. I don't know how that's going to happen, but you never know. You never know.
There's something. Yes, there's definitely something.
Interesting. We'll keep an eye out for that.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Of course. So kind of based off of that, and this is a question that I've had, I mentioned to you that I pretty much watch all of your old highlights during my lunchtime anyways. Do you have a budget that you work with? Like, how do you organize like all these things?
We definitely do. We have a travel budget. We have a budget for like props and other things that mostly is for travel, hiring the cameramen, and then the editors. And occasionally I would outsource like graphic artists to, if I wanted a certain title. In this Mookie Betts bit, I had somebody rotoscope. So he hits a home run and then he's running to first base, and then I had to get him rotoscoped. So which means every frame, so there are 30 frames of video per second. So every frame, an artist was like cutting Mookie Betts out of the background. So it took several days.
Wow.
And then behind him, I had like MVP emerged in like birth in flames, like it was like a sword that was being cast in a huge iron Valerian steel, which is going to kill the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. So it was like that. Yeah. So obviously got to pay an artist to do it. I had to pay 2 artists actually, because the first one was kind of so-so. Then I paid another artist to like clean it up. So there are things like that we had to pay for too. But mostly it's like traveling a bunch, and then hotels, and then paying for the cameraman too.
Okay, cool. That sounds awesome. That's, again, new information for me, but I think it'll enhance my experience as I continue to watch. So this next one is a bit more of a theoretical. You're going to have to use your mind a little bit. You're stuck on a desert island, and you have the opportunity to take 3 people that you have interviewed in the past. They have to be people you've interviewed in the past with you on this desert island. Who are you taking and why?
Yeah, great question. I'll probably take...
I mean, you're probably going to need
someone who's cerebral. So,
yeah. Someone cerebral, maybe like a good hunter, somebody that's got, a big, I mean, a lot of these athletes have big frames anyways, but, maybe somebody with a little bit of speed to catch you your dinner at night,
So I was thinking Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
I was thinking Klay Thompson just for the vibes.
Yeah.
And then I need like... I'm gonna say like someone who's really agile, like Simone Biles, or
Okay.
no, I need a swimmer. Maybe I need Penny Oleksiak.
Yeah, yeah.
If I'm on an island, yeah, we need swimmers. So maybe I would change out Clay for no, but you need someone who's a fit. So you need vibes. Yeah, you need vibes. Boy, maybe I need another Olympic champion swimmer, or maybe like a woman who's like a heptathlete who just has like skill and who's basically awesome at sports.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
who's athletic. And I can't think of the number one ranked heptathlete right now, unfortunately. So I'll just stick right now with I'll go Simone Biles, Penny Oleksiak, and Clay or Aaron Rodgers.
Well, what do each of them bring? Let's
Well,
talk through it.
Aaron's the cerebral one, and Clay is kind of cerebral as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And a quarterback, you're just naturally a problem solver because you have to make decisions very quickly. And Clay, 6'7", great shooter, but he's like entertainment. He's like one of the NBA's like most beloved people. And like this is in NBA circles, not just who the fans love, but
Wow.
like as a teammate and as like a glue guy. Clay, he's like the most low-key superstar. And he's from like he grew up in LA, like his dad played for the Lakers, so maybe he does know how to swim or even surf or fish.
Yeah.
Fish.
Ooh. This changes everything.
You know what? I need Mike Richards. Mike Richards is a fit. Man, I need more than 3. Maybe I substitute because Mike is also great with vibes. I'll go Mike Richards
Yeah.
because he's excellent at fishing, owns several boats. I've been on many of them, and he competes in like fishing tournaments. So we can at least MacGyver some kind of lure and some hook to fish. Penny can swim. Simone, just an all-around exceptional athlete. And maybe, if we get to a place, we're looking for food. Simone is so small, she can get into like caves or cenotes and like, all right, see if there's any fruit in this, in this small, she's under 5 feet tall. So you need someone who,
Into little crevices and everything.
That's my final 4. Those are our furious 4.
Awesome. Sounds good. And you're going to be the one that brings the vibes. So I think that kind of solves that problem as well.
I'm there for the vibes, and I can like light, campfire, and I can help with the physical labor, building shelter and finding water. Maybe if there's a waterfall on the island, so we can get some fresh water. We'd have to see.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, I wanted to quickly shift gears here, and I wanted to give you. We'll have quick responses for these ones.
Okay, rapid fire. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, this is called the favorite section. So this is going to be all of your favorites, rapid fire. We're going to go bam, bam, bam. So first, what is your favorite quarantine activity?
Reading.
Reading. Okay. While you're still in Toronto, what was your favorite spot to eat?
It was called Little Sister. It was on Yonge Street, Yonge and Mount Pleasant. Yonge and Davisville. It was Indonesian Thai. Beautiful spot.
Cool. Definitely have to check that out. That's awesome. I never heard of that one. And on that note, what's your favorite post-interview snack?
It's right now it's these Boulder chips, salt and vinegar chips. I love Ruffles all dressed, but these Boulder, and it has like a purple strip on the label. These chips are but if I can't find those, then the navy blue Kettle Creek or Kettle salt and vinegar chips.
Okay. Wait, is the Boulder thing an American thing? I swear I've never seen that here in Canada.
I don't know. I eat them here often. I might get a bag after this.
Okay.
But no, I think you can get them in Canada. I think you can get them at Metro. I think.
Metro? Okay.
Metro
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Maybe Whole Foods because it's like
Whole Foods.
Natural, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know if it's natural. I mean, they're chips. Like how healthy they're not healthy at all. Just go
Yeah.
right to your gut.
Straight to your gut for sure. There's one in Square One. I'm gonna go to that Whole Foods and definitely check that out. You've obviously, based on your interviews, been able to travel a good chunk of North America. I'm not sure if you've gone, overseas or not, but you've gone to America and Canada. What's been your favorite city to visit?
In North America, favorite city is probably Los Angeles. I love In-N-Out Burger, and I love the beach, either running on the beach or just going for vibes, just walking on Redondo and Manhattan Beach and Hermosa. I'd say, I guess LA. New York is up there too, but New York in the wintertime is gross, but New York in the summertime is cool.
Cool. I'm sure you still got love for Toronto. I know that's deep in your heart. That's where you're from. I mean, you're from Cambridge.
But that's not. I'm not traveling there. But
Yeah, that's
home.
fair. That's fair. That's fair. Next one. What is your who is your favorite artist? Whether that be after an interview.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, straight off the bat. Okay,
Jay-Z.
cool. Cool. Jay-Z's definitely up there. He is one of the goats, I'd say, of music. Yeah, the goat. Okay, the goat. The goat. Cool. I won't challenge you on that
Drizzy
one.
says there's only two and I'm not two. But so it's Drizzy and Hove. I mean, at this point. But anyway,
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
a
for sure.
conversation for another day.
For sure. Sounds good. You had a great stint with TSN. Who was your favorite fellow broadcaster and why? And if you feel pressure on this one, you can name a couple.
I don't feel pressure. No.
Okay.
Broadcaster. Dutchie was fun. Duffy's cool. I guess. I mean, Natasha's great. I loved working with Tessa Bonham. Who was my favorite? Probably Nabil. Nabil and I just had so much love for Nabil. I mean, I worked with Kate Burness probably the most, even though I was like a solo operator. Burness and I did a bunch of commercials and stuff together, and she's pretty fun to work with. And then we'd also watch football together too. But Nabil Kareem, we just had a certain love for Nabil. When we see each other in the hallway, we stop, we talk, we catch up. He jumped on my podcast once when I had a podcast, and he's just such a great dude. I love Nabil. Probably Nabil.
I've had the pleasure of actually meeting Nabil as well, and I can definitely echo that. It's been a while. I don't think he remembers me, but you know what? He's just as great a guy to somebody random like me as he is to somebody that that you're really tight with as well. So that's great. I actually didn't. I kind of expected that answer. I was thinking maybe Gurdeep as well, because I know you guys had that thing going. You had a couple podcasts together, and you guys went on.
Gurdeep wasn't at TSN that long though. I think it was maybe a year or two.
Yeah,
and then went back to CP24, and I only saw him in the halls like once maybe. But I worked long with Nabil, and I worked on like a couple of Raptors broadcasts as well. So that was a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. We're going to try to wrap it up here. Who's your favorite athlete to interview and your least favorite athlete to interview?
Mike Richards, Ryan Getzlaff, David Ortiz, Aaron Rodgers, basketball. Right now, probably Clay or Kyle. Least favorite. Least favorite was actually Morgan Riley's pretty awesome too, and so was Naz and Kadri too. These guys were amazing. JVR is pretty awesome too, because JVR. He would let me do whatever. Like I've been to JVR's house.
Oh wow, okay.
At
least you had to go to somebody's house. Oh, nice.
Yeah. Least favorite.
And maybe you only interviewed them once ever.
Yeah. Michael Thomas of the Saints. That sucked. He was like, he wasn't interested in it. He just every answer was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Like what? Like, dude, I'm asking you about like being elite, like, or like having a catch percentage of like 85%, which is like unprecedented. Yes, sir. Like, yeah, that was no bueno. That one sucked.
Did that one ever air? I don't think I remember seeing that. Oh, it did? Okay.
There's like 48 people saw it. Like, however many people watched it on Sports Center, whatever that number is, few 100,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
But then like on YouTube, the view count is like under 50. Like it was terrible.
Okay, if it's still up there, I'm gonna go digging for it. I'm gonna search it
Sure,
up.
yeah, you'll see. I added a bunch of graphics and highlights so that it just covers up a lot of the meat of the conversation because there wasn't any meat on the bone. So I had to like throw in a bunch of seasoning and like accoutrement and like add some broccoli and some peppers to like mask a friggin' tuna out of the can.
Yeah. Is there, kind of on that note, is there anybody that surprised you that, you're going in, you're prepping, you're like, I'm kind of nervous. Like, I know this person might be a big time athlete and, they don't like it when you get close, but, you ended up interviewing them and they kind of shocked you.
Mike Tyson surprised me. I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly what my expectations were, but I kept them low because I didn't know what kind of mood he would be in. I interviewed him at his house, but you never know, man. These guys are human beings. They're not like robots. So every day isn't going to be like a walk in the park. And every day they're not going to remember like, hey, I'm a millionaire. Everything's great. But like they could wake up and their shoulder or their neck is bugging them. They have a kink. So they're like in a bad mood or like, their kid is sick and they're thinking about their child because their child is on the way to the hospital or whatever. Like you always have to remember, and you can't take it personally, that these are human beings and we have bad days all the time, and they're allowed to have bad days or bad games or bad performances as well. Because we're not always at 110%, whether it's focus or performance. It's an impossible standard to hold to these guys. So when they do exceed my expectations, it is like, wow, it's awesome. It just feels incredible. And like, I know I only named like 7 or 10 guys, but I would say 80% of my interactions have been overwhelmingly positive. Not just like, oh, that was cool. It was like overwhelmingly great. Like Connor is awesome to interview. And he's a little bit tougher to crack because he's so careful and he doesn't want to say the wrong thing, but he's a lot of fun too.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. One more quick segment. It's called This or That. I'm going to give you topics. I just need one word answers. Let's hit it. Yeah. Jordan or LeBron? Braun. Awesome. Tim Hortons iced cap or Tim Hortons iced coffee?
Ice cap.
How long has it been since you've had Tim's?
One of those. I've never had one of those. I just have green tea at Tim Hortons. So
okay.
Within the last 6 months. I've been in Canada within the last 6 months.
Not too long ago. Sounds good. Calling or texting? And I feel like I know the answer, but I'll let you say it.
Oh, I'm a big texter, but I do enjoy a phone conversation. But yeah, texting.
I was gonna say calling, but okay, texting. That's cool. Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
No bueno.
Oh no.
Get out of here with that.
Cabbie.
Get out of here with that.
Oh my goodness. Fine, I'll let you have the pass on this one, but there's one more controversial coming up, and if you get that one wrong, we're gonna have to end the interview right there.
We're not friends off. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
willing to risk it.
This one's a bit of an alley-oop. Staying in playing video games or going out with the boys?
Out with the boys.
Sounds
100
good.
times out of 100 times.
That sounds good, and getting lit at the club as well. Again, we
never a dull time. Never a dull time at all.
And finally, the controversial one. So I hope you're ready for this one. Do you put the milk in before the cereal, or do you put the cereal in before the milk?
I'm not a bleeping child.
Okay.
The only time someone should ever do that is if they don't know how much milk, like if there's not enough milk for a full bowl of cereal, then you put the milk in first. So you don't have like 2 parts to one, like cereal to milk. If you have too much cereal, then it's just like dry and it's like, it's not good. So that's the only time where you see the bags like, ooh, this is not going to give me a full bowl. This will give me like half a bowl. So I'll put the milk in first and then adjust how much cereal I put in accordingly. But if it's a regular bag of milk, cereal first. Well, we're not amateurs out here, my dude. Cereal first, then the milk.
Listen, Cabbie, I'm glad you said the right answer there. If it was something else, if it was the other one, we would have had to cancel you right then and there. But hey, I appreciate you being on the right side of history on that one.
Thank you.
I want to, I know I've taken up a lot of your evening here. I want to start winding down this podcast. I got just a few more questions for you. And, I know this is stuff that I think the listeners kind of want to hear as well. And we're going to try to actually hone in on who you are as as kind of a human being, and kind of what your career has been, kind of looking back at the past, I don't want to guess your age, however many years. You look pretty young, so I'll leave it at that. What's something you did differently than everyone else that you think helps set you apart?
My differentiator was my style of interviews. So I treated athletes like they were regular dude, like they were my friends. And that helped to disarm them, and that helped to produce content that was different than everybody else's. Also, bringing pop culture into sports was the lane that I carved out to myself, and that proved advantageous.
Oh, interesting, interesting. I definitely see the whole interview aspect. You see that all the time. And actually, now that I think about it, I do kind of see the pop culture one as well. Again, looking back at some of your old stuff, I think you were definitely that good mix in the middle there. And what you did was definitely out there. And I think, for a lot of people, it might have been hit or miss, but I think you kind of found a good area and made it hit somehow. So that's great. And I kind of like to think that I incorporate some of that, maybe not into like this sort of sense, but sometimes in my daily life. I know my brother and sister are kind of annoyed with me. I'm a bit of a hugger and a touchy kind of guy, not in a weird way, but like that as well. So yeah, exactly. What's the most amount of adversity that you've ever faced, and how did you overcome it?
There were times where we would get a lot of no's as far as access to players, and that was the most important thing, is getting access to guys. I can't think of a time. We had a tough time getting Sidney Crosby, still to this day. Not that I'm sorry, I shouldn't say still to this day, because it doesn't really apply to what I'm doing now. But even at TSN, when we were like a rights holder, like a national partner with the NHL, still wouldn't get to Sid. And just overcame it by just like focusing on different people, and then just you have to keep it moving, because even though things might piss you off and you might feel a certain frustration, and in the moment you just like, there's always a deadline. So like when I was producing a segment every week, like I didn't have really time to kind of like sit around and complain about it and be in my feelings about it. I had to pivot immediately. Like, all right, can't get him. All right, well, let's, who else are they? Were they playing the Florida Panthers? Okay, can we get Aaron Ekblad? Or like, can we, all right, let's aim for the Chicago Blackhawks and see if we can get some time with Taves or whatever. So couldn't stay in those moments of frustration for too long.
Okay, sounds good. And kind of building off of that a little bit, and not kind of staying in the moments of frustrations. I know for a lot of young broadcasters, it is a bit of a tough time, especially with the pandemic happening right now. A lot of broadcast hopefuls. What advice would you have for them? Maybe not just now, but just in general, about kind of those that wanted to follow in your footsteps, perhaps, about kind of how to get to where you are in the broadcasting world, but maybe just in general as well, just kind of how to get where you are.
Get a lot of reps in. Don't worry about the view count. Just work on getting better in the craft as either an interviewer or as a host. When you put in, like, hard work always pays off. And even if it's not finding an audience right away, just keep grinding, because you'll eventually find either a small audience or an intermediate or moderate size audience or a larger one. But just keep working on the craft and trying to get better and more refined at your point of view.
That's awesome.
And work on your writing too. Writing, not you specifically.
Yeah.
But I would say to a person, work on your writing, because the writing will separate you from your peers.
I think a lot of your writing is actually translated really well into the just TV landscape, and I'm sure you're doing a lot more writing these days on some of your shows that you're working on with Bleacher Report. Would that kind of be correct?
Man, I'm trying. You got to be snappy sometimes, and my writing, it definitely needs work, and I just try to absorb from so many different places, just to like, oh yeah, that's a decent line, or I can maybe how can I bring cryptocurrency into the conversation about the Sixers and the Lakers, and I'd try to find some tie, because cryptocurrency has been hot for like 3 months, been around for over a decade, but things like that.
Yeah, like kind of what's trending, and I guess you kind of did that again with pop culture.
I try to. Yeah, pop culture is always what's relevant right now, and I always try to infuse that or as much as I can into my interviews.
Yeah, for sure. And so stay with me here. You are, you're at the end of your career. You've had an amazing career. I mean, you've already had an amazing career, but you still have other pursuits that you're working on right now, but you're sitting at the end of your career. What's next for you after broadcasting? Are you still going to be getting in people's faces, trying to climb in the shirts?
No. When I'm like 67, that's just going to be really weird. I suppose, I love television. I love creating. So I suppose I would naturally move into some form of producing role or an executive producer role, creating shows or coming up with content to continue engaging the audience. I don't know where we're going to be in 30 years. Nobody knows. So like maybe it's just all about robots. Like it's just Boston Dynamics just like rolls out a line of like robot dogs and like it's robot dog racing or something with sports, or it's like, it's these are the cyber sports. So like people who have like prosthetic or enhanced, they have chips in their on their spines, like a Ray Kurzweil book. And these people are like, the next evolution of humans who are part machine, part human. And we're doing like the universe games, like there are games on Mars, like Elon Musk terraforms Mars. And now we have like the Olympics out in Mars. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I definitely want to continue telling human stories, something in sports and entertainment. I mean, that's what I was born to do. So I'm going to continue pursuing that until they put me in the ground.
Yeah, well, I mean, with those stories, maybe as a movie director, you never know. Like as a script writer, right? It's I think those.
I'm not smart enough. I'm not smart enough.
Those sounded like some pretty cool movie like excerpts right there. So you never know.
Too much credit. Thank you.
So what kind of makes you tick in the morning? What gets you out of bed? What gets you kind of going? And maybe like has it changed at all? Has it been the same thing since day one for you?
Work. It's always work. That is the prime motivator because I love to work. I live to work. I don't work to live. So it's, I wake up and I'm like, where am I supposed to be? What am I working on? What day of the week is it? And then I just get into, I'm like, okay, how long before I get out of here and go to the library or, do we have a shoot today? I got to make sure that I'm locked in for it and refine some notes. So it's always work. That's what gets me up in the morning.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that's advice that anybody could really use across any industry, really, to really be absorbed.
It's not for everybody, though. There are some people that like a work-life balance. Some people have more existential things they think about, or they meditate first thing to get their minds right or whatever. But I like to work. So that's where my brain goes.
For sure. I feel like everybody's kind of got that one true calling. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a career, like a paid work. It could be, something that you're just doing on the side, maybe like this podcast, for example, or, maybe like to knit at the side, just, putting yourself in your work. Maybe. I feel like kind of gets people through it. I promise you, this is the very, very last question.
Okay.
You had an amazing, amazing career. So what's a life lesson people can learn from your story and your journey? And that maybe you might tell a little Cabbie that is growing up in, outer Toronto.
I live by the creed, don't tell me about the labor pains, just show me the baby. So don't tell me about how hard something is. I just want to see the final product. Nobody cares how many hands have to touch an iPhone before you buy it as the consumer, that it has parts from 65 countries. Nobody cares about interruptions in the supply chain. You just want the iPhone to message your friends. So even though the process and the journey is important, I'm more of a results guy. I want to see results. I think maybe because I love sports and sports is a meritocracy and it's about how many wins do you put on the board? What is the final score? Like those are measurables which give value or prove value, show value, and show like a finality of a game or someone's journey or, so like those measurables are important. Like get to don't just flounder around. Oh, I'm still trying to find myself. I'm in, the Czech Republic or I'm in like Bali, just like being a yogi. You know what? I shouldn't disparage people who are yogis, because perhaps that's their calling, and
Yeah.
their calling is naturally a healer, and that's awesome. I'm wired different. So process is important, but get to the results.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I appreciate that advice. And again, advice that I think is just very worldwide and anybody can really use. So thank you so much for that, Cabbie. And thank you again for taking the time to be on our podcast today. I really appreciate you giving us some insight into your career, into your thoughts, into your kind of meddlings when you were, still with TSN and doing those crazy interviews that brought people like me a lot of joy. So I do appreciate that. And again, taking the time to speak with us today and giving us a lot of your evening. To our viewers, go follow Cabbie, Twitter @TheRealCabbie, I believe. Forget what your Instagram handle is, but go look for him. He's very easy to find. Watch some of his YouTube stuff. Great guy, great guy. But thank you to everyone watching and listening, I guess, right now. And finally, one more big thank you to Cabbie.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me on, that guy. Appreciate you.